Ever feel like you're stuck in a rut,
Huh.
always approaching problems the same old way?
Yeah.
Well, get ready, because
Okay.
today we're going to break free from all that. We're diving into the world of lateral thinking with Edward de Bono's,
Oh, lateral thinking.
yes, his groundbreaking book, Lateral Thinking.
Yeah, de Bono. Now, he was a real pioneer in the field of creativity and innovation. And his work has had like a huge impact
Right.
on how we think about solving problems today.
So this isn't like just some
Oh, no.
fluffy self-help stuff, right? This is about like a whole new way
Absolutely.
of approaching any challenge.
Yeah, this deep dive is for like anyone who's ever felt frustrated,
Right.
with their own limitations. When you look at a problem and think,
Yeah.
there has to be a better way.
Ugh, yes. I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. What exactly IR is lateral thinking?
Right.
And how is it different from like our usual way of thinking?
So de Bono, he contrasts lateral thinking with what he calls vertical thinking.
Okay.
And vertical thinking is kind of like following a well-worn path.
Uh-huh.
You're building an argument step by step,
It's logical.
Yeah, logical. It's essential for like analysis and critical thinking.
Right. It's that straight line logic like we're all familiar with.
Exactly, yeah.
But it sounds like De Bono's saying that sometimes we need to like veer off that straight line.
Exactly. Because while vertical thinking is great for refining and building on existing ideas, it can also like trap us,
Yeah.
in these predictable patterns.
Oh, for sure.
Lateral thinking, on the other hand, it's all about disrupting those patterns, shaking things up,
Yeah.
exploring, those uncharted territories of thought.
Ooh, I like that. So instead of just climbing the same ladder,
Yeah.
we're building a whole new ladder, or maybe even like a bridge to somewhere completely different.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Lateral thinking is about restructuring our perceptions, challenging those like ingrained assumptions that often, limit our creativity.
Interesting.
It's about generating a wealth of new ideas, even if they seem a bit unconventional at first.
That's what I'm talking about. Out with the old, in with the bold. But how do we actually DO lateral thinking? It sounds almost like a superpower.
Well, it's a superpower we all possess.
Okay.
De Bono, he provides several techniques to help us flex those lateral thinking muscles.
Let's hear it.
One key principle is challenging assumptions.
Okay.
Think of it like this. We often approach problems with a set of,
Unspoken.
unspoken givens.
The things we just assume to be true about the situation.
Exactly. But those assumptions can act like blinders, preventing us from seeing the full range of possibilities. So by consciously identifying and questioning our assumptions,
Okay.
we can open ourselves up to like a whole new world of solutions.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works. Can you give me like a concrete example?
Sure. De Bono, he uses a puzzle involving 6 black squares to illustrate this.
Okay.
You initially see 5 squares,
Uh-huh.
and you instinctively search for that missing 6 to form a larger square.
Yeah?
But the solution actually lies in restructuring your perception.
Okay.
The shape doesn't have to be a square at all.
Huh.
And by challenging your assumption about the desired shape, the solution becomes clear.
So we get so focused on completing the picture we think we should see
Yes.
that we miss other ways to arrange the pieces.
That's it. So what you're saying is lateral thinking can help us see beyond our own biases and expectations.
Wow.
Precisely. It's a powerful tool for breaking free from those mental ruts that keep us stuck.
This is making me rethink how I approach problems already. So we challenge assumptions. What other tools does De Bono give us in this lateral thinking toolkit?
Another crucial technique is the deliberate generation of alternatives.
Okay.
Instead of settling for the first solution that pops into your head, you push yourself to come up with multiple options, even if they seem a bit, out there.
So it's like brainstorming on steroids.
Yeah.
But it's not just about quantity, is it?
Right. It's about seeking out diverse and unconventional perspectives. Remember, lateral thinking is about provocation. It's about intentionally introducing ideas that challenge the status quo and stimulate new thought pathways.
It's about shaking things up, not just refining what's already there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm digging this. Challenge assumptions, generate alternatives. What else?
De Bono also emphasizes the importance of the spending judgment.
Okay.
Don't immediately dismiss an idea just because it seems impractical
Yeah.
or even absurd.
You know what you mean? My brain loves to just jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
To categorize things as good or bad before I've even fully explored them.
It's a natural tendency, but it can really stifle creativity. By suspending judgment,
Mm.
we create a safe space for ideas to, breathe and evolve.
Yeah, okay.
Even seemingly crazy notions can spark valuable insights or
Mhm.
lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these techniques can all work together. Can we make this even more tangible, though? How does lateral thinking actually play out in the real world?
Oh, De Bono offers some fantastic real-world examples. One that stands out is the sinking boat scenario.
Okay.
So imagine a boat with holes in its sides, slowly taking on water.
Right, I'm picturing it.
Now think about the water level inside the boat
Uh-huh.
compared to the level outside.
Okay, I'm guessing our intuition might tell us the water level is the same inside and out?
That's what most people assume. But lateral thinking leads to a different conclusion. The water level inside the sinking boat will actually be higher than the water level outside.
Wait, really? Why is that? This is where my brain starts to do a backflip.
It all comes back to challenging assumptions. As the boat sinks, the air trapped inside gets compressed,
Huh.
creating pressure that forces some water out of the holes.
Okay.
That means the water level outside the boat will actually be lower than the level inside.
Whoa, that's a real aha moment. It shows how easily we can be misled by our assumptions.
And how lateral thinking can help us break free from those assumptions and arrive at a more accurate understanding.
Okay, so we've got the sinking boat. What other examples does De Bono use to showcase lateral thinking in action?
He talks about the challenge of traveling over rough, uneven terrain, and the obvious solution, of course, is wheels,
Right.
which have been the standard for centuries. But De Bono challenges us to think beyond wheels.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. What's the alternative? Are we
Yeah.
talking hovercrafts? Teleportation?
He suggests vehicles with tracks.
Hmm.
By shifting our focus from the deeply ingrained concept of wheels,
Okay.
we open up a whole new avenue for traversing uneven surfaces.
Tracks instead of wheels. It seems so simple now, but that's such a great example of generating alternatives. Makes you wonder what other obvious solutions we could reimagine if we just thought a little differently.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of lateral thinking.
Yeah.
It encourages us to question the familiar and venture into uncharted territory.
Okay, hit me with one more example before we move on. What else does De Bono have up his sleeve?
He describes a uniquely designed potato processing machine.
Yeah.
Instead of the conventional approach of peeling and slicing potatoes separately,
Yeah.
this machine streamlines the entire process. Potatoes enter a washing chamber, then exit as chips after passing through a chopper and trap mechanism.
So it's all about efficiency, about finding a more elegant solution that breaks free from that traditional multi-step process.
Precisely. This example highlights how lateral thinking can be applied not just to problem solving, but also to design engineering and innovation
Yeah.
in all sorts of fields.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. I'm already thinking about how I can apply these concepts to, like, my own work, my relationships, even just my everyday decision-making. But I'm also wondering, does De Bono ever talk about the potential downsides of lateral thinking? I mean, is there ever a time when too much lateral thinking could be, like, a bad thing?
That's a really interesting question, and one that De Bono actually addresses in his work.
Yeah, it's true that, like, unrestrained lateral thinking,
Mm.
it can have drawbacks.
Okay.
De Bono acknowledges that if we're constantly, you know,
Yeah.
challenging every assumption
Hmm.
and generating endless alternatives, it can lead to, like, analysis paralysis.
So we could end up overthinking things,
Yeah.
getting so caught up in all the possibilities
that-
that we never actually take action.
Exactly. That's why De Bono emphasizes the importance of balance.
Hmm.
Lateral thinking is most effective when it's used in conjunction
Okay.
with vertical thinking.
So it's not about choosing one over the other, it's
Right.
about using both approaches strategically.
Precisely. Think of it like this. Lateral thinking helps us break free from those, limiting patterns of thought,
Right.
while vertical thinking helps us refine and implement the most promising ideas. It's about expanding our options and making smart choices. So it's like we're using lateral thinking to generate the raw materials.
Yeah.
And then vertical thinking helps us sculpt those materials into something useful.
A great way to put it. Lateral thinking helps us think outside the box, while vertical thinking helps us build something amazing inside that expanded space.
This is making me realize how often I might get stuck in vertical thinking mode,
Mm.
especially at work. Deadlines, pressure to perform, always trying to find the most efficient solution. It's easy to forget to step back and look at things from a different angle.
It's a common trap
Yeah.
in our, fast-paced world.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so important to make a conscious effort
Right.
to incorporate lateral thinking into our process. It's about giving ourselves permission to play, to experiment, and to explore without the fear of judgment.
It's about remembering that sometimes the most innovative solutions come from the most unexpected places.
Exactly. And remember, lateral thinking is a skill that can be developed with practice.
Yeah.
The more you engage in it,
Mhm.
the more natural and effortless it becomes. It's like learning a new language. At first, it might feel awkward and challenging, but with time, it becomes second nature.
So what are some practical tips for like incorporating lateral thinking into our lives? What would De Bono suggest?
He recommends making a conscious habit of challenging your assumptions.
Okay.
Next time you're facing a problem or making a decision, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what are some other ways I could look at this?
So instead of jumping to the first solution that comes to mind,
Yeah.
force yourself to consider other perspectives.
Exactly. And don't limit yourself to practical
Yeah.
or realistic solutions. Give yourself permission to brainstorm freely, even if some ideas seem, far-fetched. You never know what might spark a truly groundbreaking insight.
It's all about pushing those creative boundaries. So challenge assumptions, brainstorm freely.
Mm.
What else?
Remember the importance of suspending judgment. Don't immediately dismiss an idea just because it seems unconventional. Give it time to breathe, to evolve, and to potentially connect with other ideas in unexpected ways.
So even if an idea initially seems a bit out there,
Yeah.
it might hold the key to a breakthrough if we give it a chance.
Exactly. Think back to the potato processing machine example.
Yeah.
That unconventional design led to a more streamlined and efficient solution.
Okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this, but I'm curious. Does De Bono ever talk about how we can cultivate a more lateral thinking mindset in others? Could we, for example, like encourage lateral thinking in a team setting?
That's a great question, and one that De Bono addresses. He did, definitely. De Bono was a big advocate for using lateral thinking in groups.
Mm.
In fact, he believed that groups could be incredibly powerful engines
Yeah.
for generating creative solutions,
Okay.
but only if they embrace a culture of lateral thinking.
So how do you create that kind of culture? I mean, group dynamics can be tricky. It's easy to fall into groupthink where everyone just goes along with the dominant opinion.
That's true, and that's why De Bono emphasizes the importance of creating a safe space for people to, share ideas without fear of judgment.
Right.
He suggests using techniques like brainstorming, where the focus is on quantity over quality and encouraging people to, build on each other's ideas.
It's about fostering a sense of playfulness
Yeah.
and collaboration.
Okay.
Instead of seeing disagreement as a threat,
Mm.
we can see it as an opportunity
Yeah.
for generating new insights.
And it's also important to have a facilitator
Okay.
who can, guide the group through the lateral thinking process, encouraging them to challenge assumptions, generate alternatives, and suspend judgment.
So it's like having a designated lateral thinking coach
Yeah.
to keep everyone on track and make sure all voices are heard.
That's a great way to put it. And this brings us to, a key insight
Oh, okay.
from De Bono's work.
Okay.
Lateral thinking isn't just a set of techniques.
Mhm.
It's a mindset, a way of approaching the world with curiosity and a willingness to, see things differently.
It's about being open to new possibilities,
Exactly.
even if those possibilities initially seem a bit strange
Yeah.
or unconventional.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unknown and recognizing that sometimes the most creative solutions come from the most unexpected places.
This whole deep dive has been such an eye-opener for me. It's made me realize how often I limit myself by, sticking to those well-worn paths of thought.
Right.
It's like I've been wearing these mental blinders,
Yeah.
and now De Bono's work is helping me take them off.
That's what's so exciting about lateral thinking. It's a tool for personal growth, for expanding our horizons, and for discovering our own creative potential.
And it's not just about coming up with the next big invention
Yeah.
or solving these complex problems,
Yeah.
Lateral thinking can help us in all areas of life,
Absolutely.
from our relationships to our creative pursuits.
Absolutely. It's about bringing that same spirit of curiosity and open-mindedness to everything we do.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Edward de Bono's lateral thinking, what's one final thought you want to leave our listener with? Something to really make them think.
Well, De Bono often used provocative questions to stimulate
Okay.
lateral thinking. So I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
What if the most important challenge isn't finding the right answers,
Hmm.
but asking the right questions?
Wow, I love that. Because sometimes the questions we ask ourselves
Yeah,
can be just as limiting as the answers we seek.
exactly. So
Mm.
challenge yourself to ask different questions, to frame problems in new ways,
Right.
and to see where those questions lead you.
To our listener, we encourage you to embrace this challenge. Ask those unconventional questions. Explore those uncharted territories of thought.
Yeah, and see what amazing discoveries await you.
Remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. Enjoy the ride.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the world of lateral thinking with Edward de Bono. We hope you found it as inspiring and mind-expanding as we did.
I certainly did.
Until next time, keep those minds flexible, those ideas flowing, and those questions coming.